Hey, welcome to the Daily Drop of Hope, or the Daily Drop of Christmas as we're calling it. We are on the 7th day of Christmas. It is New Year's Eve. What are your New Year's Eve plans? What are you doing? I'm still trying to figure out what all the Colorado New Year's Eve traditions are. We experienced a strange tradition when we moved to Maine. When we moved to Maine, we learned that Chinese food, that was the big New Year's Eve tradition. And so we kind of picked that up. So my guess is that we're going to be making some homemade Chinese food this evening and ringing in the new year 2021. How many of y'all are ready for 2021 and its possibilities, all that it has for us? I know I am. I'm excited to see all the new things that God's going to do through our community of faith. So it's good stuff. We're in the work of Christmas. Maybe you're lighting a candle each day as part of the 12 days of Christmas. I'm enjoying this kind of soulful journey and just keeping us in the framework and understanding that Christmas brings work into our lives. It's not just a day to exchange gifts. It's a frame of mind, right? And today our theme is grace, talking about grace. And so Luke chapter 2, verses 15 through 20 is what we're going to read as we kind of begin to explore it, all right? So here's what it says. It says, when the angels had left them and gone into heaven, the shepherds said to one another, let's go now to Bethlehem and let's see this thing that has taken place, which the Lord has made known to us. So they went with haste and found Mary and Joseph and the child lying in the manger. And when they saw this, they made known what had happened, what they had been told about this whole thing and the child, and all who had heard it were amazed at what the shepherds told them. But Mary, she treasured all these words and pondered them in her heart. The shepherds returned, glorifying and praising God for all they had heard and seen as it had been told to them. Here's what Howard Thurman says. The story of Christmas has certain very simply human things in it which appeal to my kind of mind and spirit. A family, a man, a woman, a child, animals, simple surroundings, the primary family unit. There is always the possibility that the first steps in love and confidence and trust can be measured, developed, expanded. So when we think of Christmas, let us think of it as a time when we remembered the graces of life. It is important to seize upon the atmosphere created in this period, to let it tutor our own spirits in kindness and imaginative sympathy. Thus, we may be able to give ourselves freely to the babies in our midst, to sustain them into their growth in youth and maturity. We must do our part to guarantee that all children may have the chance to be children, to experience their own childhood. There can be no good future for humankind if this sensitivity to the birth and meaning of the child that we see in Christmas is ignored. Well, as Bruce Epperly tells us in his chapter, the old year is coming to an end and we are going to have the chance to begin again, right? The new year gives us the opportunity to dream of being new people, right? To let go of bad habits, to begin new and healthy behaviors. Some of us are going to resolve to live with greater mindfulness and compassion. And as we look on this past year, right, the pandemic, right, part of the new year allows us to release burdens and release painful memories. This is an opportunity for us to forgive the sins, the wounds, as I like to call them, of others, to let go of grievances and begin our own healing. So he says, let us begin as new persons for a new year, open to new possibilities. These possibilities are given to us through the grace of God, by the hand of God. And so Christmas time, well, it's a time for children and the child in us. It touches our hearts because Christmas celebrates the birth of a child, yet the spirit of Christmas remains dormant until we bless the child within, seeking healing from the trauma of our own childhood, and bless the children around us by our attention, compassion, and active support. I love that we have to actually find healing from trauma we might have experienced. We have to recognize the child that we still have living inside of us, that we still resorted to. We allow that healing, but then we also look at the children around us, giving compassion, right? When we hear a child wailing, our first response should be, why is that child crying? And then we ought to think about, how is it that we can ease that child's pain? Unfortunately, oftentimes we hear a baby crying and we get frustrated or irritated instead of filled with compassion. But this is also true, and this is also the attitude we should have of the adult child in us and others, right? The adult child in us oftentimes wails and cries out oftentimes wounding others. And what we need to do is recognize that it's God's healing touch that can transform those wounds, right? It's God's healing touch that's necessary. Howard Thurman, well, he was well aware of the suffering some children experience. Poverty, racism, and war. They rob children of their childhoods right now, today. These are the tragic realities. These realities, they stifle imagination. And as children and their parents are just trying to survive amidst falling bombs and gunshots in the streets and unemployment and death and hatred because of race and ethnicity, sexuality, or religion. In the language of South African spirituality, I am because of you. I am because of you. And this is at the heart of the Christmas message. None of us can find true fulfillment until every child has a home, a healthy diet, adequate health care, safe schools, and the laughter of loving homes and supportive communities. At Christmas, let's protect the innocence of each child so that, in Thurman's words, all children may have the chance to be children, to experience their childhood. Right? This wonderful Christmas song reminds us of the beauty of a child. Away in a manger, no crib for a bed, the little Lord Jesus laid down his sweet head. The stars in the sky looked down where he lay, the little Lord Jesus asleep in the hay. And this is a great prayer for us as we look for healing for our adult child inside of us. Be near me, Lord Jesus, I ask thee to stay, close by me forever, and love me, I pray. And then our ability to look around. Bless all the dear children in thy tender care, and fit us for heaven to live with thee there. So it's a great Christmas practice today that Dr. Epperly gives us, and that is to take note of the children around you, right? How can you affirm their gifts? How can you support their innocence? How can you relieve and bring joy? How could you be an agent of healing? What a great Christmas practice. All right, listen, be safe. Have an amazing New Year's Eve celebration tonight, and I will see you for our New Year's Day edition of A Daily Drop of Christmas as we journey through the 12 days of Christmas together.